my creative professional family. We meet here on Thursdays, professional artists making our living online, making art in our communities. Hi, friends. I'm Caroline Cole. Welcome to the Business of Storytelling. Today, we are in the voiceover world, the voice actor world. We are tackling one of the trickiest topics, organization. Volumes and volumes, tomes and tomes, countless pages. So much has been written on the topic of organization. And to know me is to know that I'm no Marie Kondo. Listen, whatever. I may not have the skill she has, but staying organized as a voiceover artist is notoriously difficult because we get files from all types of clients. I've got files across at least 5 platforms, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, oh my gosh, and beyond. Whatever the client wants, that's what the client gets. I'm on so many teams and groups that it's exhausting, but it works fine. Organization is far from a one-size-fits-all. Listen, I know that. Everyone's gonna have their own sort of method to their madness. But I have put together a little tour of my own files that I've been working on organizing for about 7 years now. So if you're just getting started, or if you're stuck, or if you're losing files, or frustrated trying to find anything in your laptop labyrinth, I got you. I got you. Today, we're talking about voiceover, organization, files. Check it. Let's get started. The first thing that you need to know, and please never make this mistake, everything should be stored in the cloud. Always, always stored in the cloud. You never know when that computer is going to crash. Don't be like the very detailed outline of my master's thesis in 2014. Don't let this happen to you. You should be storing things in the cloud so you don't miss a beat or anything. Basically, after you make sure and make that a habit for the rest of your life, the thing is there are 2 types of people when it comes to file organization. There are people who batch a lot of files together and people who split files into many different categories. Basically, the difference is if you're a batcher, you'll have a few general folders. And if you're a splitter, you'll have many different specific folders. You'll see in my files in just a bit that I am definitely more of a splitter. So figure out which type you are and which way your brain works, and that will help you find a file organization system that works for you. Here are a couple of frequently asked questions that I get. First, let's start. How long do you keep a file after you've delivered a certain project to a client? Well, it depends, basically. I personally don't delete things often. I have enough cloud space right now that I don't feel that I need to, but that'll depend on your personal cloud space, how much you have. And you'll want to maybe include a clause in your contracts that says how long you'll keep a file on hand, because you can't be expected to keep a file forever if 5 years later a client is like, I lost that, I need it back. Like, that's not something that you should be expected to have 5 years later. A year would be plenty of time. That's kind of my typical MO. Once I do start running out of space, I'm going to delete things from years ago. And I actually have things batched by year. So you'll see that in just a bit. So it's easy to delete things that are old because you have them in, the 2016 file, for example. Check your contracts to see if you're expected to keep a backup for a certain amount of time. Some contracts will include a phrase like that. And don't forget to save, when you do clean out your files, don't forget to save things that you'd like to use for samples when you're updating your demo or when you're updating certain things to send samples to clients. You'll want to make sure and have those available because your best work isn't something you should delete. So make sure you're keeping that when you do clean out files. Another question that I often get is, should I save the audio project as well or just the exported version? I would say if it's just audio, if it's just your voice, don't save the audio project. The exported version is plenty. But if you've been asked to mix in any sound effects or any music, then you're going to want to save the audio project as well as the exported version. If you're asked to go back in and tweak those levels, then you'll want to have that project saved. What type of files should you save? It goes a bit with what we've already talked about. I don't export a certain different kind of file and then keep a different one. I keep whatever I have delivered to the client. So if they ask for a WAV, I have a WAV. If they have an MP3, I keep an MP3. For audiobooks, typically that's FLAC because it keeps the highest quality for the least amount of space. In general, of course, you deliver what the client asks for. And in that case, you're going to keep a copy of whatever the client has asked for. What should you name your files? Well, first off, whatever your client says, of course. We always follow the client's instructions. That's the golden rule. You often don't get instructions. So if you don't have instructions on an audition in particular, I would say you want to have your name in the file name so that someone can see easily who is behind this brilliant audition that they're listening to. And also, if they don't say, you want to keep these kinds of things in mind. One, you need to name it something that you are going to easily recognize today, tomorrow, and a few months from now if they need redelivery. You want to include your name if it's a small one-off project and perhaps you want more work from this client. Include your name so that they can, remember who you are and have that in their files and be like, oh, Caroline Cole, what a brilliant read. We should reach out to her again. Name of the script or the project is something that you might want to name it as well. Audiobooks in particular, you want to have the title of the book or some abbreviation of the title if it's a really long title, and then the chapter number. If you deliver multiple takes or have multiple takes, make sure that the take number or perhaps the date delivered is part of the file name. So for certain things, I might have Caroline Cole, Bunny Rabbit VO dash 7.4.22, right? You can't actually have slashes in your file names. So I do dates like with dots, or you might have version 4 or VS4, right? You don't need to write out the whole version. So with those frequently asked questions out of the way, let's take a little peek into my files. I have not updated these or cleaned them out in any way. I wanted to be totally honest with you about what they look like. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, here we are. Okay, first of all, I've got all this stuff on the side. I'm going to go into boss stuff, which is where I keep all my voiceover stuff. And in here, you'll start to see a few things. I have them organized sometimes by where I get the work. For example, Fiverr or Upwork. These will be one-off clients and small projects. Let's go into Fiverr. And here I have it organized by the year, like I mentioned. And then even within the year, if I get several pieces of work by the same client, I work with these guys a lot. So I have them in their own folder. You'll see in here that, yes, I have there's a test. That's a second version you'll see in there. Let's see other examples of what I've mentioned. Orca VO, right? Sometimes this is like the client name, and then I have the version with music. VO2, this one I have my name in there. There's no rhyme or reason to every little thing, but exactly, it's a system that works for me, so I can find something in here that is something that I've done for a specific client or whatever. Let's go back. For audiobooks in particular, let's pop over to Find a Way. With audiobooks, let's see if this one's a good example or not. Oh yes, here we go. So with audiobooks, so within Find a Way, I have an audition folder, right? All my auditions are in here. I have my name in each one so that they can see my name really easily. And then I also have a separate file for each title. So where were we? How to find your passion. So for this is a good example of I didn't use the entire title, but I just abbreviated it just to passion. And then I have each chapter here. In each folder, you'll see too, I keep all the relevant elements. So that kind of rhymes. I have the production notes, I have the final manuscript, and these are just going to be the raw files that I send to my editor. And then I have the final files in here. So I also label them final. And so these would be the ones that I deliver to the rights holder, to the author. So yes, the other thing that I want to point out here is I don't just have files here. I'm going to have, let me stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to have files, not just, those are my personal files, but when you start to work with lots of clients, you'll have files in Dropbox, you'll have files in Google Drive, you'll have files in Box, right? They're all over the place. So this is typical for freelance voiceover or really any freelancer. You're going to have stuff all over the place. That's why it's imperative to stay organized. Things will be everywhere. You can do your own thing at home in your own personal files. But if the client has different ways they want you to name things and ways they want you to upload them, then in their house, in their box, or in their Dropbox folder, of course, you want to follow their rules. Wrapping this up, your files, no one size fits all. Don't be overwhelmed if you're not as organized as you want to be. It can be as simple as having a folder labeled voiceover and then just have clearly labeled audio inside. You might decide to divide those within your voiceover folder. You might have a folder by each different client. Each different year has a folder. You might divide by, my editor and I often divide by finished projects and in progress projects. You might divide by project, although that could end up being a lot of folders. So you just kind of decide what works. I would say tips for when you are organizing, make sure you're keeping all your contracts and you're keeping those in places that it's easy to find. So either in your client folders or whatever. Keep audio for at least a year. Like I've said, you want to make sure and keep that audio for at least a year. And then basically in conclusion, don't be overwhelmed if your files, again, like I said, aren't as organized as you want them. Don't be panicked. Just allow yourself to get organized as you go. The system doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be functional. And this is an evolving system, right? Be intentional. Let your system evolve over time and give yourself a break, because organizing your files as a voiceover artist is a career-long process. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this. All right, bye for now. And there you have it. That is a tour, my friends, of what my files look like currently. So we are more intimately acquainted now that you've seen the inner workings of my computer. Thank you for tuning in to the Business of Storytelling this week. I'm Caroline Cole. I'd love to see you over on Instagram at Caroline Cole Stories, or on Twitter, where I also am just a little less frequently, at 𝐦𝐨𝐫 Stories. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week, friends. Bye.